Here's something which I predict will happen. That's a prediction. I maintain that as AI becomes more powerful, then people will change their behaviors. And we will see all kinds of unprecedented things which are not happening right now. And I'll give some examples. I think for better or worse, the frontier companies will play a very important role in what happens, as will the government. And the kind of things that I think we'll see, which you see the beginnings of, companies that are fierce competitors starting to collaborate on AI safety. You may have seen OpenAI and Anthropic doing a first small step. I also maintain that as AI continues to become more powerful, more visibly powerful, there will also be a desire from governments and the public to do something.
This is Ilya Sutskever. He co-founded OpenAI, and for years he was one of the people closest to the frontier, not debating the future, but building it. So when he makes a prediction, he's not guessing. He's talking about incentives, about pressure, about what people and governments do when something becomes visibly more powerful than they are. And his 2026 warning is darker than AI will take your jobs. He's saying the power of AI will cause the world itself to change its behavior in 2026. As artificial intelligence becomes impossibly powerful this year, we will see companies that hate each other start collaborating. Not because they're friends, but because the alternative is worse. We will see governments step in, we will see the public demanding action, and suddenly AI safety is not a research topic, it's a geopolitical issue. So don't listen to Ilya's predictions like it's a tech podcast, listen to it like a forecast. Because if he's right, and he usually is, 2026 is when all the AI hype stops feeling theoretical. Here's exactly what Ilya is predicting for 2026.
I think that it is likely that we will have rapid economic growth. I think the broad deployment, there are two arguments you could make, which are conflicting. One is that, look, if indeed once you get to a point where you have an AI that can learn to do things quickly, and you have many of them, then there will be a strong force to deploy them in the economy, unless there will be some kind of a regulation that stops it, which, by the way, there might be. But I think the idea of very rapid economic growth for some time, I think it's very possible from broad deployment. Then the question is how rapid it's going to be. So I think this is hard to know, because on the one hand, you have this very efficient worker. On the other hand, the world is just really big, and there's a lot of stuff, and that stuff moves at a different speed. But then on the other hand, now the AI could
exactly.
So I think very rapid economic growth is possible. And we will see all kinds of things, like different countries with different rules, and the ones which have the friendlier rules, the economic growth will be faster. And I maintain that I think most people who work on AI also can't imagine it, because it's too different from what people see on a day-to-day basis. I do maintain, here's something which I predict will happen. That's a prediction. I maintain that as AI becomes more powerful, then people will change their behaviors. And we will see all kinds of unprecedented things which are not happening right now. And I'll give some examples. I think for better or worse, the frontier companies will play a very important role in what happens, as will the government. And the kind of things that I think we'll see, which you see the beginnings of, companies that are fierce competitors starting to collaborate on AI safety. You may have seen OpenAI and Anthropic doing a first small step, but that did not exist. That's actually something which I predicted in one of my talks about 3 years ago, that such a thing will happen. I also maintain that as AI continues to become more powerful, more visibly powerful, there will also be a desire from governments and the public to do something. And I think that this is a very important force of showing the AI. That's number one. Number two, okay, so then the AI is being built. What needs to be done? So one thing that I maintain that will happen is that right now, people who are working on AI, I maintain that the AI doesn't feel powerful because of its mistakes. I do think that at some point the AI will start to feel powerful, actually. And I think when that happens, we will see a big change in the way all AI companies approach safety. They'll become much more paranoid. I think I say this as a prediction that we will see happen. We'll see if I'm right. But I think this is something that will happen because they will see the AI becoming more powerful. Everything that's happening right now, I maintain, is because people look at today's AI and it's hard to imagine the future AI. And there is a third thing which needs to happen. And I think this is and I'm talking about it in broader terms, not just from the perspective of SSI, because you asked me about our company. But the question is, okay, so then what should the companies aspire to build?
Yeah.
What should they aspire to build? And there has been one big idea that actually everyone has been locked into, which is the self-improving AI. And why did it happen? Because there is fewer ideas than companies. But I maintain that there is something that's better to build. And I think that everyone will actually want that. It's like the AI that's robustly aligned to care about sentient life specifically. I think in particular, there's a case to be made that it will be easier to build an AI that cares about sentient life than an AI that cares about human life alone, because the AI itself will be sentient. And if you think about things like mirror neurons and human empathy for animals, which is, you might argue it's not big enough, but it exists. I think it's an emergent property from the fact that we model others with the same circuit that we used to model ourselves, because that's the most efficient thing to do.
I am curious, if you say we are back in an era of research, you were there from 2012 to 2020, and do you have... Yeah, what is now the vibe going to be if we go back to the era of research?
So, one consequence of the age of scaling is that there was this scaling sucked out all the air in the room.
Yeah.
And so, because scaling sucked out all the air in the room, everyone started to do the same thing. We got to the point where we are in a world where there are more companies than ideas by quite a bit. Actually, on that, there is this Silicon Valley saying that says that ideas are cheap, execution is everything. And people say that a lot.
Yeah.
And there is truth to that. But then I saw someone say on Twitter something like, if ideas are so cheap, how come no one's having any ideas? And I think it's true too. I think, if you think about a research progress in terms of bottlenecks, there are several bottlenecks. If you go back to one of them is ideas, and one of them is your ability to bring them to life, which might be compute, but also engineering. So if you go back to the 90s, let's say, you had people who had pretty good ideas. And if they had much larger computers, maybe they could demonstrate that their ideas were viable, but they could not. So they could only have very, very small demonstration that did not convince anyone.
Yeah.
So the bottleneck was compute. Then in the age of scaling, computers increased a lot. And of course, there is a question of how much compute is needed, but compute is large. So compute is large enough such that it's not obvious that you need that much more compute to prove some idea. I'll give you an analogy. AlexNet was built on 2 GPUs. That was the total amount of compute used for it. The transformer was built on 8 to 64 GPUs. No single transformer paper experiment used more than 64 GPUs of 2017, which would be 2 GPUs of today? So the ResNet, right? Many, even the you could argue that the O1 reasoning was not the most compute heavy thing in the world. So there definitely, for research, you need definitely some amount of compute, But it's far from obvious that you need the absolutely largest amount of compute ever for research. You might argue, and I think it is true, that if you want to build the absolutely best system, then it helps to have much more compute. And especially if everyone is within the same paradigm, then compute becomes one of the big differentiators. This will be two words that have shaped everyone's thinking, I maintain. First word, AGI. Second word, pre-training. Let me explain. So the term AGI, why does this term exist? It's a very particular term. Why does it exist? There's a reason. The reason that the term AGI exists is, in my opinion, not so much because it's like a very important, essential descriptor of some end state of intelligence, but because it is a reaction to a different term that existed, and the term is narrow AI. If you go back to ancient history of game playing AI, of checkers AI, chess AI, computer games AI, everyone would say, look at this narrow intelligence. Sure, the chess AI can beat Kasparov, but it can't do anything else. It is so narrow, artificial narrow intelligence. So in response, as a reaction to this, some people said, well, this is not good. It is so narrow. What we need is general AI. General AI, an AI that can just do all the things. The second, and that term just got a lot of traction.
Yeah.
The second thing that got a lot of traction is pre-training. Specifically, the recipe of pre-training. I think the way people do RL now is maybe undoing the conceptual imprint of pre-training. But pre-training had the property, you do more pre-training and the model gets better at everything, more or less uniformly.
Yeah.
General AI. Pre-training gives AGI. But the thing that happened with AGI and pre-training is that in some sense they overshot the target. Because if you think about the term AGI, you will realize, and especially in the context of pre-training, you will realize that a human being is not an AGI. Because a human being, yes, there is definitely a foundation of skills. A human being lacks a huge amount of knowledge. Instead, we rely on continual learning. And so then when you think about, okay, so let's suppose that we achieve success and we produce some kind of safe superintelligence. The question is, but how do you define it? Where on the curve of continual learning is it going to be? I produce like a super intelligent 15-year-old that's very eager to go, and you say, okay, they don't know very much at all. The great student, very eager. You go and be a programmer. You go and be a doctor. Go and learn. So you could imagine that the deployment itself will involve some kind of a learning trial and error period. It's a process, as opposed to you drop the finished thing. The thing, so here is a perspective. Here's a perspective that I think might be true. So the way ML used to work is that people would just tinker with stuff and try to get interesting results. That's what's been going on in the past. Then the scaling insight arrived, right? Scaling laws, GPT-3, and suddenly everyone realized we should scale. And it's just this is an example of how language affects thought. Scaling is just one word, but it's such a powerful word because it informs people what to do. They say, okay, let's try to scale things. And so you say, okay, so what are we scaling? And pre-training was the thing to scale. It was a particular scaling recipe.
Yes.
The big breakthrough of pre-training is the realization that this recipe is good. So you say, hey, if you mix some compute with some data into a neural net of a certain size, you will get results. And you will know that it will be better if you just scale the recipe up. And this is also great. Companies love this because it gives you a very low risk way of investing your resources, right? It's much harder to invest your resources in research. Compare that. If you research, you need to have go forth researchers and research and come up with something, versus get more data, get more compute, you'll get something from pre-training. And indeed, it looks like based on various things some people say on Twitter, maybe it appears that Gemini have found a way to get more out of pre-training. At some point, though, pre-training will run out of data. The data is very clearly finite. And so then, okay, what do you do next? Either you do some kind of souped up pre-training, different recipe from the one we've done before, or you're doing RL, or maybe something else. But now that compute is big, compute is now very big, in some sense we are back to the age of research. So maybe here's another way to put it. Up until 2020, from 2012 to 2020, it was the age of research. Now, from 2020 to 2025, it was the age of scaling, or maybe plus minus, let's add error bars to those years, because people say, this is amazing, you gotta scale more, keep scaling, the one word, scaling. But now the scale is so big, is the belief really that, it's so big, but if you had 100x more, everything would be so different? It would be different for sure, but is the belief that if you just 100x the scale, everything would be transformed? I don't think that's true. So it's back to the age of research again, just with big computers.